What's going on everyone? Welcome to another video coming up. This is going to be a game review / lore on the one and only Diablo 4. The one game that everyone is playing right now is gotta be taking off by storm. Everyone's having lots of fun, and this is going to be a video in regards to exactly why you should be buying, and what my opinions about it is going to be. So let's get to it. So right now, if you're not familiar with the Diablo franchise, let me quickly catch you up on what the game is all about if you need the lore, because lore is quite important before we get into the full review. So for all the people who hasn't really picked up the Diablo franchise, here it is. You're in a realm called Sanctuary. It was created by the combined efforts of a demon and angel. The sole purpose of this realm was to escape the eternal conflict between the forces of heaven and hell. Kind of like a never-ending war that just keeps on raging on, and it keeps on rolling and rolling and rolling, that most of the people that are probably sick of it by this stage, they're probably thinking, why am I still here, right? So Sanctuary was created for those people that don't want to suffer anymore, because you can't be at war 24/7. But here comes the problem. It still got caught up in an internal conflict as forces of evil kept on influencing the realm and causing havoc to each corner of this supposed refuge, while forces of good is trying really hard to keep them at bay by banishing them in each installment. Now, when we come down to this, here's Diablo 1. In Diablo 1, they banished the Diablo, who at the time was one of the 7 demon lords that ruled hell but wanted to be more, and thus absorbing the other 6 demon lords to become the prime evil. The Wanderer, aka you, will go on to perform this task at the end of the game. It doesn't matter which class you pick to finish the game, because you will still be labeled as the warrior that defeated Diablo and then try to contain his soul in a soul stone and ultimately jabbed it into your own head. Like, talk about crazy, right? I mean, if only they had a refrigerator back then, like, make things a lot more easier. But here we go, Diablo 2. They destroy the 2 evils, Mephisto, Lord of Hatred, and Diablo, Lord of Terror again. Remember at the end of Diablo 1 how the ending of the warrior tried to contain the primeval Diablo? Yeah, that didn't work out very well. Like, he got corrupted and therefore he pretty much became Diablo. This was probably the most awesome dark storyline we had back in the days, preparing ourselves for the release of Diablo 2, because, like, hey, we didn't get that much dark work back in the day. It was just so damn cool. Anyways, Diablo, aka the Wanderer, will go on to free his brothers Mephisto and Baal, to which you will confront the Prior first, and then travel to the Chaos Sanctuary in Hell, where you slay Diablo right after. You will then go and use the Hellforge to destroy both the souls of Mephisto and Diablo in order to prevent their return. And I say prevent. And now comes Diablo 2, or Diablo 2.5, or Lord of Destruction. By now, you will probably be wondering, where did Baal go? After all that crazy cutscene when Baal's Soulstone was trapped within Russia and that he was freed? Well, he's in the expansion, waiting to assault on the World Stone in order to corrupt it and assert his dominance on Sanctuary. It's quite a big thing. We were all wondering back in the days, it's like, where do I kill the last one, And then, moving on, you will then go on to slay him as well and destroy his Soul Stone in order to prevent his return. Yep, you're getting the same vibe on Diablo now. Now, since we're around here, I just want to tell you of the most famous fan story theory right here as a boomer back in the days. It was speculated that because the Wanderer was the strongest warrior, became Diablo. Mephisto, who had already corrupted the Paladin Order, was the strongest of faith. And with Baal, bundled with Russia, who was the strongest mage, made this lore even more popular back in the day. Like, anyone who played enough Diablo 2 back in the days would have heard or spoken about this fan theory. If you didn't, well, I guess you were the minority, because everyone knew. Everyone. We're talking Internet Cafe days. Before we move on to Diablo 3, I just want to also point out, besides the prime evils, there are also lesser evils like Endario and Duriel, who you slay. Basically, a giant naked lady and a big fat bug that looks like it belonged in the Starship Troopers movie. Do we care much for their lore? Not a lot. Do we care about their loot? Yep. Endario would drop the most coveted SOJ, aka the Stone of Jordan. which was pretty much the currency for players to trade loot with. And the meme Duriel that drops 5 scrolls of town portals, I guess he was just really, you know, missing home after being stuck in Sanctuary for so long. He probably want to, you know, go and get into the movie because he's sort of propping himself up. And now, moving on to Diablo 3. It's been 20 years after everything has happened in Diablo 2. After a few brief back and forth rescue missions and recovering Leia and her mother Adria, Leia's mother, who is also an NPC from Diablo 1 if you didn't know that, but you know, reveals that there exists a black soulstone which was crafted by the renegade Holdrim Zoltan Kull, has the power to trap all the 7 Lords of Hell. So we go ahead to do this, however we find out that it was all part of a cruel ploy in the end in an attempt to bring back Diablo. We move on to confront the Lord of Lies, Belial, the Lord of Sin, Asmodan, and Lord of Gluttony, Gome. And then see the betrayal from Adrian and Leia, you know, pretty much gets turned into Diablo due to the usage of the Black Soulstone. Diablo then becomes primeval again due to all the demon lords being absorbed within the Black Soulstone, and he will go on to launch an attack on the high heavens. Talk about a betrayal, right? This was a good change to see, as Diablo was always seen as a dark and gloomy dungeon crawler in history. The only one time that we saw a stage that was pleasing to the eye was the Arcane Sanctuary in Diablo 2. Like, if you haven't played it, Diablo 2's Arcane Sanctuary was beautiful. Moving forward, we will follow Diablo to the high heavens and meet a few angels and ultimately confront Diablo before he reaches the Crystal Arch. The heaven source of power, that's what we call the Crystal Arch back in the days, right? We will go on to destroy him, and the Black Soulstone was shown to fall from the high heavens, and all was done. And you will think it's all done. All good, all done. But no, here comes Diablo 3, Reaper of Souls. This expansion was quite easy to predict, as the Archangel Tyrael recovers the Black Soulstone that contained all 7 great evils and wanted to seal it away with a Horidrim. Like, quite a noble course. But then, on their journey, they were attacked by Renegade Archangel of Wisdom, Mathael. He was pretty much the ex-Archangel at this stage. And in the process of the course, they obviously lose the Black Soulstone to him. I mean, what else would you expect in this storyline here? Pretty much it's gonna happen. The journey will then go back and forth in pursuit of Mathael and ultimately confronting the now aspect of death. That's what he referred himself to now. Mathael does what anyone could possibly expect by this time and uses the Black Soulstone with the power of the 7 evils and fight. However, he is brought down by us, and of course the 7 evils were freed right after because, the Black Soulstone is now gone. Now, moving on to Diablo Immortal. No, I was kidding. It does not exist. I have no idea what in the hell that is. Nope. Moving on. We come to Diablo 4. Without really ruining the lore for anyone that intends to play for the first time, I'm just gonna say, remember the demon and angel that created the realm of Sanctuary in the beginning? Well, the demon was banished but now got called back, so they just epically clash with each other. With addition of elements that we all come to love within the Diablo franchise. So, if you're not interested in the story of Diablo, I hope this triggers your excitement, as it did for me because I'm really excited for it. Whew! And that was the lore. I mean, I know by this time a lot of viewers will be like, but yo, I thought this was a game review as well. So here we go. It is time for my personal opinion and the game review section of this part. Okay, Diablo 4 is freaking gorgeous. From the spells, animations, voice acting, monsters, dungeons, and even continuous play. I could not get enough of it, and there is not enough hours in the day for me to play, and I can't help myself. Like, I haven't been this hooked into a dungeon looter RPG since the original Diablo 2 and Diablo 2.5 because I love my Lord of Destruction. Anyway, the loot system mirrors Diablo 3 but also contains element of Diablo 2 where you aren't getting overwhelming amount of garbage drops that either don't have the correct fixes or item levels. I was actually quite excited to keep on gambling away for better items and collecting awesome aspects for my Necromancer. The theory crafting of this game right now, it's really possible because with the attaining of the prefixes and everything, you can actually do it from the beginning of the game. So theory crafting is actually on the table quite early on. The character customization ability of Diablo 4 is awesome, and I just wish in the future that they will add some more features like extra faces, tattoos, hairstyles, and eyes. Like, I'm very happy with it, but I'd like to see a little bit more. I'm happy with the ability to summon a mount for easier travel, though I'm pretty sure I'm not alone when it comes to obtaining your mount much later in the game, as I was just sidetracked by every dungeon and side quest that popped up near me. Like, there's so much to do. I only obtained my mount when I was level 49. Go ahead, laugh at me. It's the running life for me, I gotta say. Diablo 4 also have returning systems like repair, salvage, upgrade, gem combination, potion upgrade, and the elixir system. There's also ores and plants that you can collect quite easily that you can find while traveling, even while mounted for crafting. That's really niche right there. This is also good as it quickly and flows nicely with our travel, because you don't want to be dismounting and mounting when you're collecting. Town portals and teleporting to any waypoints are great, and traveling back to the entrance of the dungeon are all features that makes the Diablo 4 experience even more efficient, because you don't want to be running back or TP and then going back there, right? That's just inconvenient. You get to choose from one of the 5 classes for now, because if I know Diablo, is that they will 100% release expansion with more classes. But for now, you get to choose between the Barbarian, Sorcerer, Druid, Rogue, and my favorite, Necromancer. The skill system is pretty simple. 4 spells plus 2 on the mouse clicks. This means that your current build will have to be limited to just those, and the space button is there for you to quickly move in any omnidirection you point your mouse at. Like, that's quite important because it's also used as a get away tool. We also have to talk about the boss fights. I'm pretty happy with most of the world boss fights and normal boss fights. There really isn't too much of a difficult spike when it comes down to if you know your Diablo stuff. Bets, I'm looking at you. For the new players, I will say, you will get it after playing for a few hours, and eventually you'll find it is not that tough as well. Pretty much, you'll just be rotating 1, 2, 3, 4, left click, right click. For the beginning, you get to choose between tier 1 and tier 2 with obvious reasons, more gold in EXP. And when you hit 50, you get to finish the game. You also get to move on to the good nightmare tier, and then 70 for the hell tier. So, as far as I can tell, this is pretty much mirroring the same system as before. Brilliant. These are the elements that we're all accustomed to as monsters get stronger, they have more health, resistances, and have more devastating attributes. Player gets better loot, and they keep on becoming stronger. As an added point here, I will say, I hate the Butcher still. My Saramonic build is not crazy enough to burst him down, and he always mows me away. The talent tree itself is pretty straightforward but hard in the beginning. You'll just have to map it out properly before you start taking certain talents that synergizes with each other. If you get it wrong, don't worry. Just spend gold to reset and you should be sweet. Although, it gets a little bit more expensive over time, so make sure to experiment here and there, and gold is pretty much, you just pick it up anywhere. Once you hit over level 50, you unlock the Paragon system. That's a bit similar to Diablo 3. The Paragon system is basically extra slots that you can click onto, unlock +5 to attributes at the base level, and more damage resistance power at the end. It is very deep, and I recommend a real calculation before getting handsy on the theory crafting side. It is very deep part where you can really make your character strong. I am also happy to say that you can play Diablo at your own pace. There is no need to rush different tiers or bosses, levels or loots at this. It's just a game of enjoyment and exploration. You get rewarded nicely most of the time, and that you should enjoy it more than anything else. Really. For the vets, we obviously know that we go and farm. Like, that's all we know, right? We want more PvP, we want more loot, more aspects, and more classes after a solo mod, because that's just the vets for themselves. For the hardcore players, the adrenaline is back on the table, boys! Like, let's go! We all know 1 or 2 crazy thrill-seeking players that will only play for hardcore. Like, no joke. If they don't feel that rush, they are falling asleep. Overall, it is a great experience, and I haven't been impressed with Blizzard for a long time until now. However, we still have to address the elephant in the room. And by an elephant, I mean a big elephant in the room. So let's get to the things that I do not like about this game. The lag. Now this is the graphics one. I had to update to the latest Nvidia graphics patch as it instantly punched my 3090 to max settings. Being a small-time streamer still, all of this lagged my OBS enough to affect my stream, and I had to turn off all my settings down to medium, or in some cases to the low to offset it. On some other times, I'll still be seeing messages of my encoder being overloaded due to the massive amount of enemies being generated on the screen, and that really bothers me. Like, ugh! I have seen loads of other streamers complain about this, and some to the degree of not being able to stream Diablo on their PC because their system can't handle the stress, even toggling to low. I know, streamer problems, right? Most of the people who ain't streamers probably don't care about this, but and also it is twitch.tv/empress_zk if you would like to join me for some chill sessions as I play all the games. I really appreciate the follow. Next point, the sound is overly loud. You wouldn't be able to hold a proper conversation if you didn't play with the sound bars, especially if you like to balance everything out. I mean, sure, it's great that you want to hear every single little detail, but for someone like me with the corpse explosion and Summer Manta, look, all you could hear is bam, bam, ah, bam, bam, ah. Every fight, every single fight. Don't even get me started on the Army of the Dead spell. That's just going overboard. Internet lag. Okay, this part I have to address. This is a serious one because I understand Diablo 4 is really awesome, it is super popular, and that everyone's playing it. There's bound to be lag, but holy moly, there is so much lag sometimes that for someone living on top of an internet node, I lag and spike that almost causes death sometimes. I'll be spamming my spells away, and then my Diablo screen freezes, and then it will bounce back after a few seconds to catch up. This kind of rubber banding is a serious issue as the servers needs to be either upgraded, allowed more bandwidth, or open up extra servers because this is unacceptable in 2023. Another point, multiplayer. Now, this is not the most of an issue, but I would like to highlight as we are moving in a direction where there isn't much of an aspect of multiplayer scene for people that didn't fully embrace the Blizzard launch bars. Look, if you have a lot of friends, and if you already used a lot of Blizzard launch bars since the beginning, then great, you know, you can team up normally. But for the solos out there, besides joining clans and sort of interacting with other people on your map or some forums, you're pretty much limited to no dialogues. I'm not sure if we're just all antisocial these days and stay with our own peeps, but the last time I checked, games like this were meant to have more of a conversation with others, like trades included, like how you're supposed to trade, right? And finally, the biggest one out there, microtransactions. Okay, this one is probably the one that will raise a lot of eyebrows and people will defend with either money or attitude. Look, I'm not calling you guys out, I'm calling Blizzard out on this one. To begin with, Diablo 4 Standard Edition is $109.95 Australian, or that translates to $69.99 USD. Digital Deluxe is $139.95 Australian, $89.99 USD, and again the Ultimate Edition is $154.95 Australian and $99.99 USD. You don't get the good old boxes or the collector's box to be cool anymore. Like, what happened to the good old fashioned of an art book to show us the designs, the thought process, right? There are actual collectors out there that still cherish these kind of things. The collector's boxes from World of Warcraft, from Diablo, from StarCraft, they were all awesome. We will line up to actually pre-order this because they are amazing and we want to pay for it. Like, this is a favorite fond memory from a lot of people. There is also a battle pass to which you can purchase Diablo Platinum coins, their version of the game's currency, by spending real life money to boost and buy cosmetics, which is absolutely gatekept. You don't get to look cool unless you spend real life money? Why is that a thing? The platinum currency starts at $2.95, which gives you 200 platinum coins. Again, this is in Australian price, and a full prestige set of a class game costs up to 2,400 to 2,500 coins. The way they price the coins is also scummy, as there is no 2,400 or 2,500 coin bundles. They are actively encouraging you to be lazy and pay more for all the cosmetics, which is further gatekept by a shop refresh, aka timed rotation. If that was not an insult enough, that is only the armor side. There are also accessories, emotes, mounts that are in the shop. The accessories and emotes can cost up to 900 platinum coins, and the mounts goes up to 1600 coins. Imagine overpaying for a game, plus microtransactions, to the point where you could have purchased up to 2 more AAA titles, or even bought a bunch of Steam wishlist games that just came on special. I want you to think about that. I say this greedy aspect nature bothers me to no tomorrow, but I have learned to not let it consume me enough to shy away from what is rather a great game overall. Like, it really is. And yes, in order to fully test out the game of Diablo 4, I purchased the Ultimate Edition to just see what early access and everything else Diablo could offer. Would I spend any more money on this game? Nope. I was always the one that would line up and get my pre-order for a collector's box since the early days of WoW and Diablo, and I will never spend any more money than this. So, after all of this, my final take for this game review, Diablo 4 is a solid 7 out of 10. I really love the elements of Diablo 4 and that I'm happy to keep on playing since I always need something to do when I'm bored or need some time passing. The storyline is awesome, the voice acting is amazing. Diablo never ceases to amaze me when it comes to how beautiful the visuals it can be, despite its dark and gloomy. I love playing Diablo 4 and I'll continue to play for a while because I find it really fun. Diablo 4 loses marks on its graphical lag and internet server lag, which I think could be definitely addressed in the future if they do what we asked. I cannot tolerate any losses to my online play in the year of 2023, and this should not exist ever. Forcing people to update to the latest graphics standard while claiming to have the minimum requirements at 64-bit Windows GeForce 660 or AMD 280 with DirectX at 12, 90 gigs worth of SSD space, 8 GB of RAM, Intel i5 2500 or AMD FX 8350, and the native resolution at 1080p 720p renders at 30 FPS settings. I expected a lot more to say. Your recommended specification is GeForce 970, AMD RX 470 with 16GB worth of RAM, a processor of Intel i5 4670 and Ryzen 1300X is hella off. I'm using AMD 5950X with GeForce 3090 and I can hear the over toggling and stress load on my graphics card. This should never happen as gamers didn't spend all that money to eventually watch their computer components burn out completely. This is totally unacceptable as AAA titles does put some form of strain on your computer. I get it. You're supposed to maximize it, therefore that's how they program. But this, is too much to be totally affecting multiple workflow. A lot of people these days have multiple monitors, multiple programs. I sincerely hope Blizzard address these issues and take on board real feedback instead, but at the end of the day, that's just one opinion against the ego of profiting as a business. That's just how it is. I hope you enjoyed this game lore and review of Diablo 4. If you liked it, make sure to hit that thumbs up, sub, ring the notification bell for my future videos, like and share if you're on other social media platforms, and I'll see you in the next time. Woo!